All right, welcome back. Today we dig into the beginning of Module 5. We'll pick up the end of Module 5 next week. So that today we're just going to start out introducing some concepts, and we'll get to the sandbox today. Next week we'll pick up the assignment. So that's kind of where we're at. Again, following that lecture schedule as closely as I possibly can. And just one more heads up. Next week is my jury duty week. So I don't know if you're aware of how jury duty works. It's a whole lot of fun. Every day, the night before, you call in, and they will tell you if you have to appear or not the next morning. And then, if you're lucky, you just sit there for a day or so, and then they let you come home or go back to your life. If you're less lucky, then you get put on a trial, which could last longer. So, be watching your email is the message I'm trying to send to you here. Because I will update you as I know more information. I don't believe that I will get called in on Monday because I have a very high group number, and they start at 1 and just kind of go through the groups. So I have a pretty high number. I don't foresee that I'll be called in on Monday, but you never really know for sure. So anyway, that's the deal there. And so let's get into control structures. And control structures, I think, are where programming starts to get actually more fun. Anybody here familiar with what's called a choose your own adventure book? Anybody ever read those? Those are my favorites when I was a kid. I was a huge reader, obviously a nerd, but still am, and I still love a good choose your own adventure book. But basically the way they work is you start out on page 1 like any other book, and you read a short few paragraphs or maybe a couple of pages in, and then all of a sudden at some crisis point during the story, something's happening in the story that you're reading. It says, if you choose to go into the cave, turn to page 15. If you choose to return home, turn to page 23. And so at that point, the story splits. It gives you a choice between this outcome or that outcome based on whatever you think would be more interesting, I suppose. Now, typically, I would go back through and read the story multiple times to try out all the different outcomes because I thought that was interesting. But control structures are a little bit like that choose your own adventure in that you're going to your program is going to run up to a certain point, and then it's going to give you a choice based on some factor in your program, something the user enters or a value of a variable or any other factor that you choose. And then the code will either run a certain block of code, or if the variable is some other value, it might skip over that or run a different block of code. And what that allows you to do is create much more interactive programs. So control structures, if I really simplify this into a story that maybe is a little bit more culturally relevant, this is a great example of a control structure, right? Imagine you're back in junior high, right? Or grade school maybe, and you're sitting next to a person that you find interesting, or maybe you like them, like them. So you craft a little note here with the predetermined check boxes, and when the teacher's not looking, you slip it to them, and it says, "Do you like me? Yes or no?" What's the expectation is that they will check one of those boxes and give it back to you, right? Now, if they crumple it and throw it on the floor, that's probably also a soft pass, maybe, but okay, hard pass. Um, that never happened to me, so I'm not triggered at all by this conversation. So uh, definitely not at all. So so they check one of those boxes and they pass it back to you. And the question I have for you is, then what? Right? Then what? What do you do once they pass the note back to you and you read which box they've checked? If they check yes, then what? You kind of make your next move, right? You're like, okay, you feel a little bit more emboldened by this. Like, okay, there's an interest there. I'm going to do this. If they check no, then you immediately burn the note and hide forever, right? Or don't you pretend you're sick the next couple of days and hope it blows over and they don't tell anybody. So what they check on this box, which is basically Boolean, right? It's either true or false. Do you like me? True or false, right? It determines what happens next. And that's all a control structure really is it says, based on the value of whatever I'm looking at in my code, I either do this or I do that. And this is how it looks in Python. So we start with if. It all starts with if. And this structure is important. Notice I'm using parentheses here. Those are optional in an if statement. The reason I use them is to help people remember that you're going to put something there, that you're going to put an expression there. You can leave them off in Python. In other languages, they're required. In Python, they're not required, but they are optional. So I like to put them there. Okay? If something is true, then that's how you should read this colon. Then you're going to do something. So if this is true, then, and whatever comes beneath this, that's what you're going to do if that thing is true. Now, bear with me. We're a little bit sort of like, theoretical at this point. But we'll nail it down here in just a minute. So that is required. The if, the expression, and the colon are the three parts of the if statement. So here's a very simple thing. If something is true, then print this is true. Now, you'll notice one more thing about this code, and that is the line below it is indented. Python uses indentation to group code together into what are called code blocks. A block of code belongs together in some way. In this case, this block of code only has one line, but as long as I keep indenting, I could have it do a million lines of code in that code block. And the whole code block, if this is true, it's going to do whatever that whole code block says. So let me demonstrate really quickly. Okay, so if be like me is true, then print you like me. We're very excited about it. Okay, so first I set a variable. It's Boolean and it's set to true. Next, I say if that variable is equal to true, and I'll talk about the two equal signs. Anybody notice that? And we're like, haven't seen that before. Don't worry, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. If that is true, then print you like me. Okay, so now I'm in that code block. You can see that it's indented. I'm hammering this home or trying to emphasize it a lot because about 30% of you will get confused about indentation at some point in the next 2 weeks, and you'll be like, this is not doing what I thought it was going to do. And in fact, if I don't have something indented underneath that, notice it's going to give me an error. It gives you that little red underline under the P is because I'm not indented there. It wants, if you have an if statement like this, it wants at least one line of indented code beneath it in that code block. Now, when I unindent, I'm back into what we would call the main level of my program. So this line, that line 6 here, is not part of that code block. line 6 is going to happen no matter what. So if I run this right now, what happens is it prints, you like me, and then it prints, this is printed no matter what. Now watch, if I change this to false, then this is no longer true, right? Be like me is not true. Then all it prints is line 6 because that statement was not true anymore. Following so far? Good. Let's make it more difficult. Just kidding.